And which mic is yours? Is it this one?
Is it loud enough?
Right.
I just need to sound like Kelly. You can't give a gay man a Beyonce reference. Which mic is yours?
Check 1, 2. Check, check, check. I'm not sure which one he plugged in. I believe it's this one right here.
I think we're good to go. All right. All right, people, we're getting ready to start.
All right, thank you all for being here today. I'm Rebecca Marquez, the Texas State Director for HRC. I want to thank all of our partners who are part of this event: Equality Texas, Texas Freedom Network, the Transgender Education Network of Texas, ACLU of Texas, and Lambda Legal. This session has been hard. Attacks on the LGBTQ community, attacks on reproductive rights, and attacks on voting rights. And we are here today because there's a particular terrible focus on attacking trans children. The legislature is pushing bills to ban trans kids from participating in school sports and to prevent them from getting the medical care they need. Our speakers are here today because these bills would have terrible consequences for transgender kids. We are here to stand up for trans kids and their families. And now I'd like to welcome HRC President Alfonso David.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here. We are here today with a very simple message. Equality matters. LGBTQ people in Texas matter. Transgender people in Texas matter. We are not going to go away, and the majority of the American public support equality. Now, despite the overwhelming support for equality in this country, this year we are seeing an unprecedented coordinated effort to target transgender people, and particularly children. In fact, in 2021, we are on track to become the worst year for state legislative attacks against LGBTQ people. In this session in Texas, the legislature has introduced more anti-equality bills than any other state in the country. These bills are trying to make LGBTQ Texans less equal, less than safe, and less than everyone else. Numerous times, lawmakers in Texas have been asked to name specific instances or examples that would necessitate these types of bills. And numerous times, they have been unable to come up with any single instance. Because these bills are not really rooted in the real world. They're rooted in fear. They're rooted in discrimination. They're rooted in disinformation. Cruelty is not just the byproduct. Cruelty is the point. Legislators are trying to ban transgender children from playing sports. But ask yourselves, why now? Why in 2021? Transgender children have been playing sports consistent with their gender identity for decades. There's no basis for these bills. It's just cruel. Legislators are also trying to ban gender-affirming medical care for transgender children. For example, House Bill 1399, which would do exactly that, could head to the House floor for a vote anytime. But every major medical association has denounced these bills as being contrary to science and simply cruel. And it's also important to note that transgender children suffer higher rates of depression, anxiety, and suicidal ideations. And this bill would make it much worse. Legislators should stop playing doctors, and they should be playing policymakers. Our policies should be driven by facts, not by fear. And these bills are ignoring the science, they're ignoring the facts, and they're causing more harm to young people. And then finally, legislators are trying to label any parent who supports their transgender child's medical care as a child abuser. Specifically, Senate Bill 1646, if it passes, Texas law will now define a parent's love for their transgender child as criminal. As we approach Mother's Day this Sunday, there will be public speeches about the importance of mothers in homes across Texas and across this country. Mothers will be celebrated. And I don't know how many mama bears you have met, but I have one thing to tell you. They are fierce. They are strong, and they will defend their child and all children anytime, anywhere, against any threat. These mothers and parents across the country are heroes, not criminals. The only people who should be labeled abusers here are legislators who are trying to hurt trans kids for political gain. To all of the legislators who are advancing these bills, we say no. We say no to hate, no to division, no to fear. As Texas and the rest of the country is now coming back from COVID-19, and as Texas is recovering from the winter storm, the people who you elected to offices should be helping Texans recover from the winter storm, not indoctrinating hate into your laws. And in case they don't know this, the LGBTQ community in Texas is strong. The LGBTQ community in Texas is formidable. We have been here before, and we have beaten back anti-LGBTQ bills. We're going to do it again. Together with our partners and thousands of Texans across the state, I'm honored to fight alongside partners like Equality Texas, the ACLU of Texas, Transgender Education Network of Texas, the Texas Freedom Network, and Lambda Legal. We also have businesses from all across the country that support us. More than 95 businesses are joining our fight to oppose anti-LGBTQ legislation. We have more than 400 businesses across the country that support the Equality Act that will ensure that we have federal protections for LGBTQ people. These bills are bad for Texas businesses, and they're bad for customers. They're bad for shareholders. They're bad for employees. And of course, I can't leave this stage without also acknowledging and thanking the strong leadership inside the Capitol, members who have been fighting these bills in committees and on the floors over and over again. We're grateful for their leadership, we're grateful for their partnership, and we're grateful for their vision in supporting equality. We have seen incredible displays of courage. Young people, you will hear from today. Medical professionals, you will hear from today. Parents, you will hear from today, who are fighting for equality. They're the ones who are demonstrating courage, not the elected officials that are hiding behind fear and disinformation. I want to also thank the Women's Health Caucus, the Mexican American Legislative Caucus, the Texas Legislative Black Caucus, and Planned Parenthood. Make no mistake, folks, we're going to fight like hell. We're not going to allow hate to take over our country. We're not going to allow division to take over our country. We have fought before, and we're going to continue fighting. We are going to continue to fight until every single person in this state is treated with equality, is treated with dignity, is treated with respect. All you need to ask yourself is, who does not support equality? Why is equality something to be afraid of? It isn't. And that's why we're going to continue to fight until every single person in this state is protected under the rule of law. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Cecila Gonzalez. I'm from Dallas, Texas, and asked my parents to bring me here today with them to defend my sister and our family. I'm cisgender, but my sister is transgender. My siblings and I are really worried that our state is going to pass bills that hurt us. My parents always help us get the health care that we need to be healthy. But if our state stops doctors and our parents from helping my sister to get the life-saving care she needs, what will happen to all of us? We love living in Texas and don't want to have to move, but I know we will have to if you keep trying to hurt us. My sister has lots of friends and family that love and support her, but it seems that people making laws don't understand we are all different in unique ways. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't be treated differently. Stop attacking my sister and my family. Do not let these anti-transgender bills pass.
Thank you so much for being here. My name is Rachel Gonzalez, and I am so fortunate to be the mother of 3 amazing children. Just like parents across this state, my greatest commitment to my children is to love them without condition and protect them fiercely from harm. Unfortunately, that has meant protecting my daughter from the Texas legislature repeatedly. When she transitioned over 5 years ago, my husband and I were in uncharted territory, but her deep sense of self and authentic identity never wavered. We have spent countless hours, days, and years learning the best way that we can support her, educating ourselves, listening to her, listening to other transgender youth and the community across the state and the country. While we'll never fully understand the transgender experience ourselves, we will never waver in our love and support for our children. Our kids know exactly who they are. They know exactly what they need to thrive. We have heard repeatedly throughout this session that our legislators don't understand what it means to medically transition, and they've consistently spewed damaging lies that made it clear they have no interest in the safety and well-being of our children. As a native Texan, I'm having a really hard time understanding why our state is insisting on meddling in the private medical care of our families, especially when it's abundantly clear that they don't care to understand the life-saving nature of this highly specialized care. Trust families to know what's best for their children. Trust our kids. They know who they are. They deserve a life free of state-endorsed medical mandates. We have seen this attack on our children for the last 3 sessions. Each time with a slight adjustment to approach, but they all target transgender Texans. We're tired of fighting the same fight, but parents across this state will never stop fighting for our children's rights to a just and equitable life.
My name is Frank Gonzalez. As a parent of 3, it is exhausting to make the drive to Austin to defend the basic rights of my daughter. We are tired of defending the legitimacy of our daughter's existence year after year. Our children have come to know that their state government is obsessed with regulating their families' personal lives. And we must drive to Austin week after week, session after session, to beg our legislators to let us live in peace without government intrusion. Again, my daughter deserves to have access to the gender-affirming care she wants and needs. Care that follows the best practice guidelines of the American Medical Association, the Pediatric Endocrine Society, the American Academy of Pediatrics, and every major respected and recognized national medical organization. It is astounding to me that any legislator would suggest that they know more about the medical care my child needs and deserves than my child, her parents, and her physicians. If our Texas legislators truly cared about children and families, they would give up this abhorrent obsession with our children, stop disrupting our lives, and stop leveraging our innocent children with their so-called solutions in search of non-existent problems of their own political gain. We will never stop fighting for our daughter and the entire transgender community of Texas to have full-lived equality in their home state. But we certainly hope and pray that you will see transgender people for who they are: beautiful, resilient, and strong. My daughter said it best: you don't have to understand the experience of transgender youth, but the least you can do is stop attacking them, stop attacking their families for supporting and loving them unconditionally, and stop attacking medical providers who are trained to understand their healthcare needs. It is time for our allies to join us and stand up to these bullies. Together, we can ensure our state is a safe and equitable home for all Texans.
Hi there, y'all. My name is Emmett Schelling. My pronouns are he, him, his, and I'm the Executive Director of the Transgender Education Network of Texas, better known as TENT, for obvious reasons. Today is May 4th, and I just want to take a moment to recognize that this is the first birthday that Monica Roberts is not here physically for, after all of the years of fighting ferociously in the building behind me. She set an example for me and for our kids of how to speak truth to power, even when that power is overwhelming and you are scared and you are shaking and you don't have the benefit of it. And so I hope I continue to honor her, her legacy, and the love and wisdom that she so gracefully and generously gave to me. I would be remiss to not talk about Monica today, as we're here talking about kids. I'm here to denounce ignorance and rhetoric and misinformation that is not just cruel, but will take lives from kids in this state, undoubtedly. We hear a lot about how transition is just doctors trying to pass out hormones and surgery left and right, and I'm here to say emphatically, kids, close your ears, that's bullshit. And I know that because in this state, in San Antonio, 5 years ago, I was refused as an adult testosterone, even though I had the medical letters, even though I had done everything that they require me to do, even though I'm an adult, and I should be able and free and at liberty to make those decisions for myself, because it is my medical health care. So the idea that this is happening and we are just taking kids in to do whatever the opposition is saying is misguided, and it is ignorant. And not only is it ignorant, it is willfully ignorant and cruel. These legislators have heard time and time again from medical experts, which they are not, that this healthcare saves trans kids' lives. They cannot plead that they did not know. They cannot look at us as a constituency and say with integrity, they did not have the information because they did. Today, I ask you and thank you for being here. And I ask you, please continue to fight. Kids are worth fighting for. Trans kids, cis kids, all kids. They deserve better. They deserve better from the body that legislates behind me. They deserve better from this state that continues to attack them and ask for them to come plead for their humanity with their parents, their siblings, and their loved ones. So, with that said, let's continue to fight like hell because lives are on the line.
Hello, my name is Elisa Norwood. I'm a board-certified internal medicine physician. I specialize in gender-affirming care, and I'm the medical director of Vivint Health in Austin. I'm standing today here with colleagues behind me and standing with all major medical organizations. We're here today because we're deeply concerned about the impact of these anti-transgender bills on the health and well-being of our patients. These bills will harm transgender children by interfering in their health care. This is a dangerous attack on the field of medicine and the sanctity of the patient-physician relationship. A core tenet of medicine is that we base practice on science and research. These bills are forcing physicians to go against evidence-based guidelines of every major medical organization. You've heard these before, but they bear repeating: American Academy of Pediatrics, the American Psychiatric Association, the American Medical Association, and I could go on. These guidelines are developed with a clear understanding of the risks and benefit of treatment. We as doctors know how to assess when care is appropriate, when the benefits clearly outweigh the risks. We tailor gender-affirming care to patients based on their age, based on their clinical history, and in collaboration with their families. This is carefully considered and specialized care. What the proponents of these bills don't seem to understand is the harms in withholding care, which can be disastrous. We took a Hippocratic oath to do no harm, and that is why we are speaking out. Studies show that up to half of transgender kids consider suicide. Gender-affirming care has been shown to reduce suicidal thoughts, improve mental health, and improve well-being. That's why we talk about this life-saving care. Lawmakers cite concerns about kids detransitioning or regretting, which are not based on the evidence. Very few kids choose to detransition, and in studies, the vast majority did so because of pressure from family or school or because of threats of violence. These lawmakers are not there with the families that you hear speaking today. They're not listening to transgender kids. They're not there with our patients when they say, I expected my care to give me relief, but I didn't expect this care to give me so much joy, as one of my patients told me. The root of the problem here is stigma and misinformation. It's not transgender kids. If we care about children's health, we should pass laws that protect transgender people, decrease stigma, decrease the threats that they face, not block their access to health care during a pandemic and when Texas is facing a primary care shortage. For the sake of our patients, for the sake of all the families who bravely speak out against these bills, we ask the Texas legislature to oppose these dangerous bills. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ricardo Martinez, and I'm the Chief Executive Officer for Equality Texas. Thanks. And I'm here to talk to you about the greatest threats that our community is facing this session and to urge lawmakers to do right by our community. On the first day of bill filing, 166 days ago, Texas lawmakers rushed to kick off the Texas portion of a nationally coordinated assault on our community, filing bills targeting transgender children on that very first day. This attack, which intentionally seeks to erase us, to dehumanize us, to limit our autonomy to make choices for ourselves and our families, and erode the support of the vast majority of Texans who believe that discrimination against LGBTQ people is wrong. With the state in the grip of a pandemic, and as we know now, just a few short months from a deadly collapse of our grid, they prioritize hurting LGBTQ Texans. They prioritize hurting trans Texans. Texas has so much to grapple with. We should not be spending time fighting bills that would insert the government into private, life-saving medical decisions of trans youth and their families, or outlaw doctors from providing best practice gender-affirming care. Texas lawmakers have filed 36 anti-LGBTQ bills this session. That is nearly double what we experienced in 2019. Texas accounts for nearly a third of all anti-LGBTQ bills filed across the country. In a record year nationwide for these bills, let me repeat that one more time. Texas is responsible for 1/3 of all bills that target LGBTQ people in this country. And we're also leading in anti-transgender legislation. Instead of focusing on fixing our electrical grid, public education, or access to medical care, we're once again addressing fictitious emergencies that scrutinize the lives and bodies of transgender people and that fuel fear, bias, racism, and discrimination in our state and among our youth against trans people. We are placing a target on the backs of all trans people in Texas when we should be seeking to protect them. Let us not forget that Texas is a leading state in an actual emergency: the murders of Black and brown transgender women. Fix that. Focus on that. This session, we are facing threats to trans people's lives in the form of bills designed to strip them of essential health care and to isolate vulnerable transgender youth, to single them out as too different to be part of school communities. These threats stem from the fundamental lack of understanding about who trans people are and what best practice gender-affirming care actually looks like. We are surrounded by intentional misinformation at this building behind you, designed to demonize trans people and their lives. Heed the warning of states like Arkansas, where we have heard heartbreaking stories about the devastating impacts of these legislative attacks on transgender kids. Even here in Texas, we don't have to wait to see the consequences of these bills. 2 weeks ago, a school teacher from Katy frantically called Equality Texas and asked us if we could do anything to help resolve the worst bullying she has seen at her school during her 16-year tenure. The targets? Trans youth. And just last week, we received an email from a mom who was told by her lesbian daughter that her bullies threatened to shoot all the LGBTQ kids in school. And just a few weeks ago, a cisgender young woman was publicly harassed by a random stranger who decided she was transgender, just because she was too fast and too strong. Is that the friendship state we know and love? No. The future prosperity of Texas is not going to be defined by the continued degradation of transgender people. It won't be defined by state-sanctioned discrimination against LGBTQ people. It will be defined by the choices we make today. It will be defined by the choices we make about protecting trans and LGBT people, by the choices we make about uplifting Black and brown communities, investing in our schools, actually protecting women's sports by instituting equal pay, by ensuring people are paid a livable wage, and electing and re-electing lawmakers who understand and prioritize all people, not just some. To our Texan LGBTQ community, I know you're feeling the collective grief, anxiety, and trauma of this session. I am too. And I know that you are coming to the Capitol time and time again, and it isn't easy, but it's necessary, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart for always showing up. We will continue to stand beside you to defend your inherent worth as a human being and your humanity, and to ensure our lawmakers honor our foundational principles of the American experience: human equality and individual liberty. Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Adela Mejil, and I am a 12-year-old girl from the Rio Grande Valley. I had to take time today from school to convince you that I'm just a regular child. The bills attacking trans youth in this legislative session, just like the last two sessions, are cruel and vile. My parents and other parents of transgender kids shouldn't be charged with child abuse for simply loving and supporting their kids as we are. These bills are simply an act of transphobia and hatred. It makes me so nervous and anxious knowing my parents who love me deeply can be charged with child abuse. They are just supporting me. I know exactly who I am, and my parents love me unconditionally. Have any of these legislators ever stopped to think about how scary it would be for me to lose the love and support of my family because they refuse to listen to us? How can you accuse the medical professionals who made an oath to save and protect me of child abuse? I have sleepless nights knowing I might not get the life-saving medical attention I may need. The real child abusers are the ones writing these bills and trying to force me to be someone that I am not. Protect my rights.
Mi nombre es Adama Liz Vigil, soy del Valle del Río Grande y soy madre de 3, incluyendo a mi hija transgénero de 12 años. Mi hija ha sido víctima de actos discriminatorios, ha sido segregada en actividades escolares, sin dejar de mencionar ser segregada de la fuente de agua, a su corta edad de 7 años. Pero nada de esto le trajo mayor ansiedad y miedo a mi hija y a nuestra familia, como estos ataques contra nuestra comunidad transgénero en forma de proyectos de leyes. Negarles atención médica adecuada a nuestros menores transgénero traería consecuencias letales. Las investigaciones científicas han demostrado que este tipo de rechazo social provocaría innumerables problemas mentales e emocionales. Estoy aquí dando la cara y luchando por los derechos no solo de mi hija, pero también de los derechos de todos nuestros menores transgénero. ¿Cómo puede ser esto considerado una forma de abuso infantil? El apoyar y amar a nuestros hijos tal como son y lo que son jamás debe de ser juzgado y condenado. Una vez me preguntaron cuál era mi mayor miedo, a lo cual yo respondí que mi mayor miedo es que mi hija fuera una más en la lista de víctimas de crímenes de odio. Pero hoy me doy cuenta que estos proyectos de leyes son considerados crímenes de odio y que mi hija está siendo atacada por aquellas personas que se supone deben de protegerla, que son nuestros legisladores. Como madre, les pido su ayuda. Por favor, no dejen que este tipo de proyectos de leyes pasen y sigan amenazando la oportunidad de que nuestros menores transgénero vivan una vida plena y feliz. Gracias.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kevin. My pronouns are he, him, his. I'm a cisgender, white, straight man. I'll be honest, when I was asked to speak today, my first thought was, why me? What do I possibly have to say from a position of power and privilege? So I will tread lightly and speak from my heart. I'm here to stand in opposition to anti-trans bills in Texas, particularly the medical care ban bills, HB 1399 and SB 1646. I want to tell you about my work. I'm a social worker at a shelter here in Austin. I care for youth in foster care and youth experiencing homelessness. Many of my clients are transgender youth. My youth come to the shelter dealing with incredibly difficult circumstances in their life. All of them have experienced verbal and physical abuse, neglect, abandonments from those people closest to them in their life. All youth want to be seen, heard, and accepted by those people in their life. Yeah. The transgender youth in my care have been repeatedly rejected, invalidated, shamed, and mocked for simply being who they are. This happens all the time. This takes a devastating toll on the hearts and minds and bodies of all of these youth. Transgender youth deserve respect, encouragement, support, empathy, validation, and guidance. These are values that guide my work and my interactions with all of my youth. I, along with others that I work with, accept them fully for who they are. I believe them and listen to them and seek to validate and empower them to make sense of their experiences. I believe these simple acts of compassion and empathy have a powerful way of giving our clients joy and happiness that has evaded them for so long. I do not try to change them or tell them it's just a phase or they can just wait it out until they turn 18 when they're able to make their own medical decisions, or that they may regret it if they change their minds. I connect them with medical providers to receive gender-affirming care. With gender-affirming care, our clients are provided access and support to discuss with their doctor an appropriate way to receive care for the overwhelmingly distressing feelings they often experience due to a mismatch between their gender identity, the identifier someone uses to communicate how they understand their personal gender, and their sex assigned at birth. This can include wraparound support services such as counseling, support groups, psychiatric care, peer support, puberty blockers, and hormone treatments. This is not child abuse. This care is essential for their overall well-being. There is broad consensus in the medical community of the benefits and necessity of receiving gender-affirming care. I have seen the harm done to youth when they are unable to receive the necessary care that they need. To criminalize this will have devastating consequences. It will lead to more isolation, harassment, bullying, abuse, homelessness. This mistreatment leads to stress, anxiety, low self-esteem, depression, self-hatred, self-harm, and suicide. It will strip them of their dignity. I want to take some time to speak to those that aren't quite sure what to think about transgender people or the LGBT community as a whole. It's okay to not have all the answers. It's okay if you're a bit confused, unsure, or wary. The pronouns, they, them, theirs, what does that even mean? The labels, gender fluid, non-binary, huh? It can all feel a bit different or strange, and that's okay. Please don't give in to those feelings. Stay curious about their experience. Stay open. Ask genuine questions. Listen and learn from transgender youth. Get involved in LGBTQ organizations. Get to know them. Don't make assumptions. Ask more questions. Listen more and learn more. As Ashley Mardell says in her wonderful book, learning about new identities broadens our understanding of humanity, heightens our empathy, and allows us different, valuable perspectives. Every youth is different and unique and has value and worth. We're all trying to make sense of life. We're all looking for people to support us through the good times and bad, to be treated with respect and dignity. For those of you like me that stand in solidarity with transgender rights, please continue to discuss these issues with your family, friends, and neighbors. Oppose these bills. Celebrate trans youth and advocate tirelessly for LGBTQ rights. These bills are the opposite of compassion and respect. They are born out of a place of fear, misunderstanding, and judgments. I stand in opposition to HB 1399 and SB 1646. If you attack one Texan, you attack all Texans. Thank you for your time.